Calling to order the Board of Regents regular meeting for June 18, 2026. The time is now 10:11 a.m. Eastern Time. May I have a roll call? I recognize Felicia Brown for roll call.
Chair Santiago,
Present.
Vice Chair James,
Present.
Regent Balducci, Regent Bloom, Regent Cummings, Regent Jappanen.
Present.
Okay, thank you. Regent Porth, Regent Williams, Regent Wright, Regent Yang, SAC Regent Lawson, SAC Regent Yi, FAC Regent Cisanker. Absence noted. Commissioner Bartolomeo. Absence noted. Commissioner Jutani.
Present.
Commissioner O'Keefe.
Here.
Commissioner Russell Tucker. She's expected to join via the WebEx.
I see her here online. I don't think she can hear us.
Thank you. Chief Workforce Officer Valeries. Holly Williams will be attending for Undersecretary Casamento.
I'm present. Thank you.
Interim Chancellor Natalie Braswell. President Toro.
Here.
President Kolonowski.
Present.
President Ismaili. Interim President Bulmer. President Bernal. President Royal.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. May I have a motion to adopt the meeting agenda as presented?
Moved. Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? The motion carries. I'd like to acknowledge Interim Chancellor Natalie Braswell for some opening remarks.
Good morning, Chair Santiago, Vice Chair James, regents, presidents, faculty and student representatives, members of CSCU community, and members of the public. Thank you for the opportunity to provide my first report as the interim chancellor of the Connecticut State Colleges and Universities System. I began this role only a few days ago. This is day 4. And I do so with a deep appreciation for the importance of our colleges and universities, the responsibility entrusted to me by the board, and the impact the system has on the lives of nearly 100,000 students across Connecticut. For those of you I haven't met yet, let me tell you a little bit about who I am. I am a first-generation college graduate, first and foremost, a proud UConn alum, a lawyer by training, and a public servant by choice. I've had the privilege of serving as Assistant State Comptroller and General Counsel, and that one random year that I served as Comptroller that I always forget, and most recently as General Counsel to Governor Lamont. Throughout my career, I found myself in roles where the assignment was usually some version of, the situation is complicated, please go figure it out. That reputation now has followed me into this new role as interim chancellor of CSCU. Before discussing my work over the past several days, I want to acknowledge the context in which we meet today. The CSCU system has experienced a period of significant leadership transition and public scrutiny. Faculty, staff, students, administrators, policymakers, and members of the public have expressed concerns about governance, accountability, communication, and institutional stability. Different stakeholders have offered different perspectives and different solutions, but what I've heard consistently is a desire for clarity, stability, transparency, and confidence in the future of the system. Those expectations are more than reasonable, and they're expectations that I share. I do not come in to this role with a predetermined set of conclusions, nor do I come with a prepackaged agenda for restructuring the system. My responsibility is first to understand the system, understand the challenges before us, understand the strengths upon which we can build, and ensure that decisions are grounded in facts, data, and a clear understanding of our mission. Over the past several days, I've begun to meet with board leadership, system office staff, institutional presidents, and other stakeholders. I've started reviewing recent audits, financial reports, governance materials, strategic planning documents, and external assessments. I've also begun planning a series of meetings and listening sessions that will continue throughout the summer and fall semester with students, faculty, staff, labor representatives, shared governance leaders, legislators, community partners, and others who deeply care about the future of CSCU. While I'm still very early in the process, several themes have already emerged. First, people care deeply about CSCU and the institutions. Second, there's a strong desire for greater clarity regarding roles, responsibilities, and decision-making. Third, there's a need to strengthen confidence in governance and accountability processes. And fourth, there's a shared commitment to student success, even among those who may disagree on how best to achieve it. And finally, there's a desire for greater predictability and stability after a period of uncertainty. These observations are not findings, they're not conclusions, they're simply themes that will help inform me in the work ahead. As interim chancellor, my immediate priorities are pretty straightforward. The first is governance and accountability. Strong institutions require clear roles, clear expectation, and clear lines of responsibility. Our institutional presidents are the most important operational leaders in the CSCU system. They're the closest to students, faculty, staff, alumni, employers, and their communities. My role is to support their success, remove barriers where appropriate, ensure accountability, and provide state system-wide leadership. The second is operational stability. Students, faculty, and staff should be able to focus on teaching, learning, research, and service without unnecessary disruption. The third is financial stewardship. We must ensure that resources are managed responsibly, transparently, and in a manner that supports both short-term needs and long-term sustainability. The fourth is rebuilding trust through communication, consistency, and follow-through. And throughout all of this, we must remain focused on our core mission: expanding educational opportunities and supporting student success. Over the next 90 days, I intend to conduct a comprehensive review of system operations, institutional conditions, governance practices, financial risks, and organizational priorities. Very small list of things that I'm planning on doing. That work will be informed by engagement across the system and supported by data, not assumptions. As that process progresses, I will provide regular updates to the board regarding what I'm learning, where risks exist, where opportunities exist, and where I believe action may be warranted. I want to be clear about one thing. My immediate responsibility is not to redesign CSCU. My responsibility is to ensure CSCU is stable, accountable, well-governed, and positioned to make informed decisions about its future. The success of this interim period should not be measured by the number of initiatives launched. It should be measured by whether the institutions become more stable, more transparent, more accountable, and more focused on serving students. I'm grateful for the partnership of the board, our presidents, faculty, staff, students, and the system office employees as we undertake this work together. Before I conclude my remarks, I want to take a moment to mark President Kalowski's incredible tenure at Charter Oak State College. As a point of personal reference, Ed was actually my first boss after I got out of grad school at a long, now not remembered, Connecticut Distance Learning Consortium, where he was the executive director. So I've actually known him for a very long time, and I'm very sad that he's leaving and have continually asked him to stay. Every day since I've been here. For nearly 30 years, he has been a part of the Charter Oak family, first as the institution's director of technology, and then as its leader for the last 18 years. From growing the number of academic majors and launching its first graduate programs, he leaves a legacy of excellence, and I thank you. We're all very thankful for your decade of leadership and commitment to student success, and wish you all the best in your retirement. I would also like to thank Regent Elise Wright for her 12 years of service on the board. During her tenure, she's always shown up for the colleges and universities and been a steady leader on the board's Human Resource Administration and Audit Committee. Why I didn't have the opportunity to serve alongside you, your reputation precedes you, and I'm appreciative of your commitment and your service to the board. Thank you, Chair Santiago. That concludes my report.
Well, given that this is the first meeting I've ever had to follow a chancellor remarks, you're not going to make it easy on me. Really appreciate those remarks, Natalie, and very well said. And there's some repeats in here, which I think is probably a good thing. A good thing to be on the same page. Good morning, colleagues and the broader public. Appreciate everyone's attendance and attention. 3 weeks ago, I spoke here for the first time as chair. In the time since, I've been doing work that comes before the work, meeting with Senate presidents and across the system, sitting down multiple times with CSU presidents, Senate presidents, and speaking with legislative leaders, faculty, and staff. Those conversations have been some of the most valuable I've had since taking this role, and I intend to keep having them. A theme I hear consistently is that people want to be substantively engaged, not consulted after decisions are made, but actually heard. Faculty, staff, and shared governance leaders have real experience and real insight, and they don't always feel it's being put to use. I take that feedback seriously. Listening to stakeholders inside and outside CSCU is not a nice to have. It is essential to how the system moves forward successfully. The board has a role in that, the chancellor has a role in that, and the leaders across our institutions have a role in that. We'll be working together to make sure that engagement is real and not just performative. Now I'd like to take a moment to officially welcome Interim Chancellor Natalie Braswell to her first Board of Regents meeting. Chancellor Braswell has been in the role since Monday, 3¼ short days ago, and she is already setting the right tone, as you just heard. Many of you have seen the message she sent to the CSCU community this week. It was direct, honest, and clear about her mandate. She is not here to implement change for the sake of change. Her focus is stabilization, restoring trust, strengthening accountability, and making sure the people closest to the students have what they need to succeed. See, I told you it was going to sound pretty similar. That's exactly the mandate we gave her, and it's encouraging to see her lean into it from day one. She brings, as she well detailed better than I can, executive, legal, and public sector leadership experience, along with a reputation for leading through complexity and bringing people together to get things done. Something even in the first 3¼ days I've already witnessed personally. Additionally, as a first-generation college graduate herself, Natalie personally understands what is at stake for and how valuable we can be for the students we serve. I'm confident Chancellor Braswell will be an effective leader for this system, and I know I speak for the board when I say we are fully committed to supporting you and to your success. As I finish welcoming a new leader, I need to turn and say goodbye to another one. In this moment, I want to recognize Regent Elise Wright, for whom today will be her last board meeting as a regent. Elise joined the board. Oh, she'll be back, yeah. Elise joined this board in 2014 and has been a steady principled presence through more than a decade of significant change. She served on the Human Resources and Administration Committee and chaired the Audit Committee, roles that sit right at the intersection of institutional integrity and long-range organizational health. Before the board, Elise built a distinguished career at Aetna, ultimately serving as the Chief Human Resources Officer, where she helped lead one of the more remarkable business transformations in Connecticut corporate history. That background in talent, strategy, organizational development, and long-range planning made her an invaluable resource on this board, especially during moments that required steadiness and clear judgment. What I will say personally is this: Elise is the kind of person every board needs. No matter what is happening around the table, and there has been plenty, she brought a calm and level head. Simply put, Elise doesn't rattle, a quality that is rarer than people think and much more valuable than most people acknowledge. Elise, thank you so much. The board has been and will forever be indebted and grateful for your service. Thank you very much. Keep your hands ready, because that's the first of multiple goodbyes today. Continuing on the theme of recognizing leaders who have contributed so much to our system, I'd also like to recognize and celebrate President Ed Klinoski's remarkable tenure at Charter Oak State College. President Klinoski has guided Charter Oak through nearly 30 years of service to the college, 18 of them as president, growing the college from one academic major to 21 and launching its first 4 graduate programs. He also oversaw the creation of the Community College Tuition Match Scholarship Program, which enables CT State graduates to complete their bachelor's degree at Charter Oak at the same tuition they paid at CT State. That is the kind of innovation that changes lives and one that will outlast all of us. Personally, I've gotten an opportunity to work with Ed and see the two sides of Ed Klinoski. The public side, which often can be, how shall we say, assertive, as well as the private side, both in personal coaching moments, as well as heard directly from the people that he leads. Ed is an amazing leader. An amazing leader is one who supports the people they lead, not just to accomplish the goals the leader sets, but to accomplish the goals the people he leads set for themselves, both in the institution and personally. And on that score, Ed is a 10 out of 10. Please join me in congratulating Ed Klinoski on his retirement, thanking him for leaving us an institution that has financially balanced books and is continually growing, and that we look forward to supporting in the years beyond, and wishing him the very best in whatever it is, Ed, that you intend to do next. Ed, thank you so much. On the transition from Charter Oak, the presidential search for Charter Oak is in its final deliberative phase. The search committee has done serious work, thorough work evaluating a strong group of candidates. I want to recognize and thank Karim Ismaili, president of Eastern Connecticut State University, for his leadership in that capacity. And we are working through the process carefully and deliberately at this stage, because getting this right matters for Charter Oak, its students, and its mission. In the near term, Interim Chancellor Braswell will, with the board's support, appoint an interim president to provide continuity during the transition as Ed transitions off in a couple weeks here. Our intention is that appointment to be as brief as necessary, just long enough to ensure we land on and can transition to the right permanent leader. We are committed to doing this right, not fast. Want to quickly update on the independent review. The Grand River Solutions contract is signed and active. Interviews, in fact, begin next week. The board looks forward to supporting GRS efforts in whatever ways are needed to ensure a complete, independent review is conducted as expeditiously as possible. The findings will be made public upon completion. That is a commitment the board has made and one that I will hold us to. Today, the board will vote on the FY27 budget. I want to briefly contextualize what we're approving. The budget carries a $156 million deficit, which will be supported by the use of institutional reserves. That is a real number, and it reflects structural challenges that did not develop overnight and will not be resolved overnight. Closing that gap requires more than a financial plan. It requires a process that earns buy-in. That means bringing labor, management, institutional leadership, faculty, and staff to the table alongside external stakeholders who have a stake in the health of this system. Through the Finance Committee, management, and the board are committed to building exactly that kind of inclusive process, one where the people who live and work inside these institutions every day and the communities and employers who depend on them have a genuine voice in how we get there. The goal is not just a balanced budget, but a sustainable institution. Today's vote is a necessary step. The hard, collaborative work of getting to a long-term solution is what follows. I also want to briefly address the landscape review prepared by Mr. Chang in his role as strategic advisor to the board. We commissioned this work because we don't want to build CSU's future in a vacuum. Other public higher education systems across the country are wrestling with the same or similar challenges we face: workforce alignment, enrollment headwinds, affordability, and early college access. And we owe it to the Connecticut students to understand what is working elsewhere. Vice Chair James and Regent Bloom have been closely engaged with this work since August 2025, providing input that helped shape the research. The report is in a final review and will be shared publicly later this month. Finally, we have spent the first few weeks of my tenure doing the hard work of stabilization, welcoming new leadership, addressing the independent review, passing the FY27 budget, and moving the Charter Oak search forward. That work is ongoing, but it is on track. Starting next month, the board turns its attentions to the longer game. We'll be developing a governance strategy framework, a biennium strategy framework, and rollout plan for the North Star, the framework that builds on our accessibility, completion, and talent work and pushes us further towards connecting our learners to outcomes, not just a credential, but a career, economic mobility, and a life they can build right here in Connecticut. We are not a board in permanent crisis management. We are a board that is building something. And I look forward to doing that work with this board, with Chancellor Braswell, and with every stakeholder in the system who wants to be a part of it. And with that, I'd like to recognize Vice Chair James to give us an update on our permanent chancellor search.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Today, I'd like to bring you up to date on the chancellor's search and to respond to your questions and seek any advice you care to offer. So first of all, the process is occurring in 3 stages. One is organizing the search. We're organizing the search by creating the schedule, clarifying the role of the Search Advisory Committee, establishing criteria for the search firms to submit proposals, and beginning to develop the leadership profile. The second stage is recruiting and advertising. And that selected search firms will be responsible for most of the middle stage. However, we invite you to let us know if you have potential candidates to add to our pool. The third stage is selecting the chancellor. And the final work will be evaluating candidates, selecting semifinalists, probably 10 or so, then finalists, probably 2 to 3, to be submitted to you, the Board of Regents, as the governing board to select the next chancellor. So second, I'd like to talk about some distinctive features of this search. We're adjusting our prior search processes to emphasize the following elements. Number 1, the advisory committee. This highly representative group of about 25 people will play a very active advisory role in the process from start to finish. We will ask them to meet regularly with the search firm, to weigh in on the leadership profile, suggest potential candidates, help winnow the pool of candidates down to semifinalists and finalists, and helping the board to whoever the board selects to get off to a good start. To ensure leadership representation in the CSCU's constituent groups while keeping the advisory committee to meaningful yet manageable size, here's the proposed composition. Our 6 institution presidents, 6 faculty representatives, which must include representation from the faculty senates, units, and the 6 institutions, our 2 student regents, 2 legislative leaders involved in higher education with 1 from each party, a representative from the governor's office, a representative from the system office, a foundation representative, a K through 12 system leader, a representative from the business community, and 1 or 2 representatives from our significant partner community. A key role for the advisory committee members is to reach out to their constituent base for input and to share that input with the search committee and advisory committee. Second, active recruiting in addition to advertising. Our contract with the search firm will require that they recruit candidates who may not be currently in the market for a new job, but who may well be attracted to this one. We will also advertise extensively for the position. Third, intensive background checks. Our contract with the search firm will require deeper background checks. We will be looking for any undisclosed conduct or performance issues, as well as the specific leadership qualities that the top candidates claim for themselves and actually possess. Next is search firm oversight. We will designate an individual to oversee on a weekly basis that the search firm is honoring their promise to us in our contract with them. This is especially important for the silent recruiting of potential candidates and checking on their prior experience and accomplishments. I will be sending out a copy of the proposed schedule, which is in draft form. And as the schedule reflects, we plan to send the requirements to the executive search firm with an intended choice of the firm made by the end of August. Next stage would be the onboarding support and orientation once we've made that selection. And we are going to seek a committed, active leadership partnership with the new chancellor, understanding that he or she needs the ongoing support and oversight of the board, as well as input from a variety of our other stakeholders. I would like to thank our search committee members, Interim Search Chair Santiago and Regents Rick Porth, Ted Yang, Ira Bloom, Sophia Japanin, and Don Williams, who have devoted much thought and attention already to the search process. I thank them in advance for the hours of their engagement to come as we work together to recruit an excellent chancellor. And with that, I'm asking if everybody received a copy of the proposed schedule. This is still in draft form, and we welcome input and adjustments. The intention really is that by the end of July, we would confirm the schedule, confirm the responsibilities for the search committee and the advisory committee, identify administrative support person for the search committee and the advisory committee, draft the search firm requirements for up to 5 to 6 firms, investigate the performance and experience and accomplishments of the firms, and then begin the chancellor leadership profile. In July, we want to complete the search firm requirements and get that requirement out to the search firms. In August, we would like to get responses due. And in the August-September timeframe, we also want to make sure we send the description, roles, and responsibilities to potential advisory committee members with responses from them due by September 21st. This intention is so that we can have those conversations while we are and acknowledging that there is a break between July and the end of August, and we want to make sure that we get faculty voices and input before we make the final selection of the Search Advisory Council. In the first week of October, we'd like to make sure that we meet with the Advisory Council members to confirm the outreach process, the timeline, and develop the Chancellor Leadership Profile input. We see the profile being completed by the end of October with the desired qualifications, and then we begin recruiting and public advertising. In January, we hope to review our candidate applications and resumes. By February, narrow the candidate pool to about 10 semifinalists. And this is, again, input from both Search and Search Advisory Committee. March, we would like to recommend 3 finalist candidates to the Board of Regents and also begin those deep background checks in terms of achievements, personal qualities, and any issues to be identified. By the end of March, we would like to conduct the in-person interviews and have the campus visits. And by April, have the selection made by the Board of Regents chair and or designee to negotiate and also negotiate the contract, relocation expenses, whatever is necessary with our chosen candidate. Because we want to make a selection by April, we feel that it's important for us to get the desired candidate of choice to make sure we are not late in the game. We're in a very competitive field right now. There are a lot of institutions looking for new leaders, and we want to make sure that we get our candidate of choice. And then plan to make the selection announcement in early May with the intention that the candidate would begin their role and the oversight process would begin by July 1st of 2027. So again, this is a draft. Welcome your input. And now I'd like to take any questions that you might have in terms of the update that I've just given you.
Any questions from the Regents or table? Oh,
Yes.
we got one.
I've been involved in probably far too many searches in CSCU, and some of the search firms are academically focused solely. Some are more broad with, departments that look at education. And then there's a variety of differences among the representatives from those organizations. Are we going to look at, if any of those firms have provided services to us in the past, are we going to look at sort of the history, sort of the performance of those past?
Yes to all of the above. And that's why I believe that this month we really should devote exactly what are the requirements, what are the questions we will ask to interview so that we close any potential gaps that possibly we have uncovered in the past.
Providing value to the end, Elise. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Well, seeing none, I just want to thank Vice Chair James for her hard work. This, as the report, I think accurately indicates, this is not an easy task. It has many different variables and facets, and it is one of the most consequential decisions this board can make. I want to thank Vice Chair James, publicly for all the work she's doing on this and will continue to do in the nearly full year ahead. So we certainly appreciate that. And to just let you know that while we admire and appreciate the hard work, we're also here to help you do it. So don't hesitate to reach out to any of us to make that work a little bit lighter for you as necessary.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I now would like to acknowledge Felicia Brown for a period of public comments. Before those public comments start, I did want to remind all of our speakers of our rules of decorum and how we would anticipate these public comments to be done, as well as the 3-minute time limit, which will be adhered to. Felicia?
Chair Santiago, today we have 3 staff and faculty members who would like to give public comment, and they are all in person. All the speakers should listen for their name and then approach the podium. Our first speaker is Christopher Dukes from Central Connecticut State University.
Good morning. I'm Christopher Lamont Dukes, an administrative faculty member at Central Connecticut State University and a longtime member and product of the Connecticut State University system. I speak today as a whistleblower who reported serious misconduct and retaliation within CCSU on multiple occasions. I have worked in higher education here in the system for approximately 30 years, including national leadership roles in student conduct administration and justice advocacy. I share that only to make it clear that I know this system well, and I understand the ethical obligations we owe to students, employees, and the public. As state employees, we are accountable to the people of Connecticut. I'm speaking today because transparency, accountability, and public trust require this board's confrontation of what's been ignored at CCSU for years. In 2018, I reported 2 serious cases of alleged sexual misconduct involving CCSU employees and raised concerns to the senior officials handled them in ways that avoided accountability and public transparency. Instead of addressing those disclosures, CCSU retaliated against me. The cases involved Matthew Sedlak, a math professor who solicited oral sex from a student in exchange for a makeup exam, and Chad Tower, a university employee who raped a female student. These incidents should have triggered transparent, lawful, and decisive action. After my disclosure, I was placed on administrative leave and later wrongfully terminated. While I faced retaliation, the misconduct I reported remained concealed and those responsible remained protected. I was reinstated after the Connecticut State Supreme Court rejected the fabricated justification used for my termination. Yet, the broader pattern of retaliation and institutional failures continue. I have repeatedly made these concerns known to CSCU leadership, including multiple chancellors and board of regents since 2019. No effective intervention has followed. My written testimony further complements what I'm saying today and is available online, or I have hard copies here. I made additional disclosures to CSU leadership in September of 25 and again in March and April of 26. The Student Government Association was considering a resolution that called for Zumatoral's resignation. Once again, I was placed on administrative leave. The response reinforced the message at the workforce that exposing misconduct at CCSU still brings retaliation instead of reform. The consequences for standing up have included years of professional harm. Meanwhile, Chad Tower remains on campus today after having raped a female student. He raped her and management gave him a pass. In conclusion, I must note my concern that race has remained a factor in how human resources has responded in this matter. To me, this case reflects troubling disparity. The distinguished career of a Black professional within CSEU has been given less weight and less protection than a white male who committed
Mr.
rape.
Dukes, your time has
The
lapsed.
reality deserves.
Your time has lapsed.
Here, stop.
May I
Yeah,
finish this
we have
last
to-
statement? That
we're gonna-
people of
we're-
Connecticut,
can you-
the CCSU community, and the
Mr.
affected
Dukes.
students deserve transparency and justice. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Roberta Pryor, CT State Gateway.
Good morning, Chairman Santiago, Interim Chancellor Braswell, Regents, institutional presidents, distinguished colleagues and guests. My name is Dr. Roberta Pryor, and I'm honored to introduce myself as the new CT State College Senate President effective this last June 1st. I'm joined by an exceptional team of officers, Dr. Alan Ballinger, Vice President for Faculty and Professor of History at CT State Gateway. Felicia Garmon-Fleuron, Vice President for Staff and Coordinator of Advanced Manufacturing Technology at CT State Housatonic, and Bonnie Goulet, Campus Advising Lead from Naugatuck Valley, who will serve as our Secretary. Together, we look forward to building upon the foundation that's been laid and serving our students and peers across the state with pride. The iconic jazz composer and band leader, my favorite, Duke Ellington often said that a challenge is an opportunity to do your best. Over the past several years, we have all been called upon to live that truth, and these have undeniably been challenging times for all of us, for our campuses, our institutions, and I imagine for each of you as well. We have navigated persistent funding crises that have intensified year after year, adapted to shifting national landscape in higher ed, and worked to manage and mend strained relationships at the state level. Today marks the beginning of a new era, however. With two new leaders, Chairman Santiago and Chancellor Braswell, we welcome your diverse expertise, your fresh perspectives, renewed energy, and commitment to stabilizing our system. This moment also signals a new chapter for CT State College Senate, as we look forward and look ahead with shared commitment to collaboration, growing our college and student success. What unites us is clear: a shared commitment to supporting our students' personal, academic, and career goals, to ensuring CT State is a place where faculty and staff can thrive, and to fostering an environment where every student has the opportunity to succeed regardless of the adversity they face. Ultimately, our collective work transforms not only the lives of our students, but also the futures of their families and communities. I also want to highlight that the CT State proposed Fresh Start policy, which is on your agenda later today. This policy represents the collaborative work of stakeholders in enrollment management, campus and college office management, and college governance, working together to create policy that is student-centered and efficient. Every individual who contributed to this effort is proud of the collaborative spirit that guided its development. It stands as a model of how governance and leadership can partner effectively to support student success. On behalf of the CT State College Senate Executive Council and myself, we're committed to building meaningful ways to collaborate with the board and CSU leadership to strengthen CT State. We look forward to working together in a spirit of transparency, respect, and shared purpose as we navigate the opportunities and challenges ahead. Thank you for your time.
Our last speaker today is Dr. Ruth McDonald with Charter Oak State College.
Yes, I'm Dr. Ruth McDonald of Charter Oak State College, a longtime faculty member and a union delegate. And I want to tell Chancellor Braswell we got the memo. So we're here to invite you and Chair Santiago and any other regent who would like to come to a listening session with Charter Oak faculty hosted by the union. I'm not envisioning a union meeting. We're available Mondays and Wednesdays at 6 via Zoom. Can you see that we have a pattern here? And we will host with our own link. We envision a comment session something like this: 3 minutes for each member who wants to speak, up to 12 or 15 members, and then a time for questions, answers, comments, and plans to speak again. In this session, I expect you'll hear from our in-state and out-of-state professors who want you to know how proud we are of our students, their accomplishments, and persistence in spite of impossible odds. I look at them and I say, this is impossible, but here you are, you're doing it. You'll hear about our pride in our work. You'll also hear that we're professors, not facilitators of courses. We assign grades twice a week to all students. I've been at it already this morning. We assign final grades, we write letters of recommendation for grad school, and we talk to students beyond the classroom. These are not the behaviors of facilitators. We're professionals and professors. You may hear how the system works for us and doesn't work, and we will work with you as long as it seems to be in the interest of our students and our faculty and our college. So, Mondays and Wednesdays, 6 p.m. Bring your ears, be our guests. Let us hear from you. I'm looking for a date in my Charter Oak email account, and I will give that to Felicia.
Chair Santiago, that concludes today's public comments.
Thank you, Felicia. And I also want to say thank you to our public commenters. Certainly getting feedback is really important to our ability to learn, to understand, and to be better in the future. I certainly also appreciate the collaborative nature and the recommendations and acknowledgement of past successes that we got in today's public comment, which are greatly appreciated and something that we will take to heart and act on. So thank you all very much. I'd like to acknowledge, I need to call for a motion actually to approve the minutes, I believe, of previous meetings. Moved. Is there a second? Second. Any sorry. Thank you, Felicia.
So I'm going to ask that you actually read from the script because of the nature of how the minutes are being approved.
Got it. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the following meeting minutes in globo or as a whole for approval? April 30th, 2026 Board of Regents special meeting, May 4th, 2026 Board of Regents special meeting, May 8th, 2026 special joint Board of Regents Student Advisory Committee meeting, May 13th, 2026 Board of Regents special meeting, May 20th, 2026 Board of Regents special meeting, May 26th, 2026 Board of Regents special meeting, and May 28th, 2026 Board of Regents regular meeting. So again, a motion to approve those meeting minutes in globo. Do I have that motion? So moved. Second? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'd like to acknowledge Regent Bloom for remarks on the Academic and Student Affairs Committee. Ira Bloom.
The Academic and Student Affairs Committee met on June 5th. Present at the meeting were committee members Regent Juanita James, Regent Rick Porth, and Regent Dell Cummings, as well as the committee chair. The meeting lasted for about 2.5 hours, and several important academic and student-related issues were discussed. Discontinuations and modifications to academic programs at 2 campuses were reviewed and recommended on ASA. They are reflected on the agenda of today's meeting. These reflect the ongoing program review process. A recommendation for 1 new program, modifications to 2 academic policies, and reports about several ongoing academic policies are noteworthy, and I will comment on them now. The new program coming from Western is the proposed MSW and social work program. which is item 14D, I believe. Yes, 14D on today's BOR agenda, BOR calendar. President Brunel, Provost Hagedorn of Western were both present at the ASA meeting. There is a documented need for additional licensed social workers in Connecticut. Students coming out of Western's BSW programs, which are accredited by the Council on Social Work Education, will be able to complete their MSW in one additional year at Western. Students from other disciplines will be able to undertake the program's two-year option. The program, interestingly, will have an addiction counseling focus, enabling students to pursue other career options involving addiction and substance abuse problems, which I think everybody is well known are serious matters in the state. Two academic policy items before the BOR today are the Charter Oak residency policy, item 14G, and the Connecticut State Fresh Start policy, item 14F. Yes, this is perhaps President Kanowski's last official recommendation, but the revised Charter Oak residency policy increases the number of Charter Oak courses that students must take with Charter Oak in most degree tracks in order to receive the Charter Oak associate degree. Now will require 15 credits at Charter Oak, and bachelor's degree, which will require 30 credits at Charter Oak under the policy if it's approved today. The changes align with the NETSHE accreditation standards and the changing needs of the younger student population at Charter Oak. The ASA committee unanimously recommends revisions to the residency policy to the full BOR. The Connecticut State Fresh Start policy is similar to what we sometimes call second chance policies at many colleges and universities. The resolution before the BOR today proposes revisions to Connecticut State's current Fresh Start policy. This is not a new policy. This is a proposed revision to policy currently in place. Under the revised policy, if approved by the board, students who had been at Connecticut State, earned a poor academic record, and leave for 2 years may apply to return through the Fresh Start policy, and if approved, will refresh their GPA beginning upon re-entry. All courses taken at Connecticut State, however, will remain on the student's official transcript. Each of the students under the policy will have an assigned advisor to try to prevent any missteps from taking place. The policy changes were recommended by the Connecticut State Senate and the Connecticut State Cabinet. The ASA committee asked to receive updates as the revised program is implemented. The committee unanimously recommends the proposed revisions to the full BOR. Connecticut State Provost Heineck reported to ASA upon the continuing implementation of the ACME program at Connecticut State. ACME, Alignment and Completion of Math and English, is addressing the 2012 Connecticut legislative mandate calling for the elimination of remedial courses at the campuses. This involves replacing the remedial and developmental courses with a co-requisite model involving college-level math and English courses. There was an active and lively discussion at the ASA meeting about this endeavor, and I would urge all of the BOR members to watch the YouTube recording of the meeting, particularly beginning at 1 hour and 2 minutes. I think you will find that it's an elaborate, I can spend a lot more time talking about this, but I think I would really recommend that people take a look at the YouTube recording of the meeting. The ASA committee also received the required year-end report of the Dual Credit Advisory Council. In June of 2025, the board adopted the CSU dual and concurrent enrollment policy. Dual enrollment involves high school students taking courses on the CSU campuses, and the concurrent policy is having CSU courses taught at the high school by approved teachers and faculty members. The policy resulted in the establishment of a dual and concurrent enrollment advisory council. At this month's ASA meeting, there was an extended discussion of the council's May 27, 26 report, in which President Brunel participated, having been at the meeting for other purposes. So we thank you for Thank you for that. Which included the discussion of the many benefits and also the costs of dual and concurrent enrollment initiatives. There's not much research that says that starting early in dual and concurrent enrollment programs increases the chances of students' retention and completion. What is also not easily visible is that this type of program is somewhat complex. There are issues of what tuition is charged to high school students. There are a number of other issues, and the advisory council is meeting, will continue to meet during the summer to make recommendations on some of these issues. We have different policies at different campuses now on dual and enrollment issues. So this is something that the advisory council and the board will have to continue to monitor as we move along. Again, I would encourage all board members to watch the tape of this meeting. I don't think it'll put people to sleep, but I think they'll find it quite interesting. There are several challenges, fiscal, instructional, and administrative, involved in expanding the number of students participating in this program, some of which are not easily visible. Are the courses in Banner? How do we keep track of all? This is not a simple process. Finally, Vice Chancellor Diamond and Interim Provost Heineck have been working closely with the state's Office of Workforce Strategy, which has been tapped by the governor to lead efforts in determining eligibility for the new Workforce Pell program. This is what's affectionately called short-term Pell, and it's coming into place now. Other higher educations or institutions in the state are also involved in this evolving process. So there'll be more to come on the issue of short-term Pell. Chair Santiago, I thank you that concludes my report. I thank everybody for their patience.
Regent Bloom, thank you so much for the report and your dedication to everything at ASA. No goal too big, no detail too small. So we certainly appreciate that. I'd like to recognize Audit Committee Chair Don Williams for his report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Audit Committee did not meet since our last meeting, but we continued work on the Audit Committee charter. And I want to thank Elise Wright, Rick Porth, members of the Audit Committee, for their excellent work on this issue in particular, and Rick for some additional excellent thought and suggestions at the Governance Committee meeting, which did meet since our last meeting. And they took a hard look at this charter, and it has been moved forward to the committee today. I also want to thank Brian Green, our Director of Internal Audit. Actually, this represents a significant issue in terms of having a new charter, the creation of his position in January and filling that. And he did some excellent work in taking a look at what we needed to do in terms of revising our charter. And with the chair's permission, I'll ask him to just briefly summarize his process at the end of my remarks. I'm going to try and keep it brief. We are number 14M on the consent calendar. Page 127 is where you'll find the amended audit. I'm going to just walk through it section by section and briefly give you the summary. We've updated the audit charter in addition to updating the language and oversight, we wanted to reflect this significant change. The fact that since January, CSCU has added the position of Director of Internal Audit. That's very significant. It allows our system to perform internal audits and to help coordinate the system response to external audit recommendations. In the introduction, the previous sections of introduction and general purpose and scope have been combined, and it also includes a reference to the Director of Internal Audit. The second section, membership, it remains pretty much the same, except we made clear that there is a requirement to have a member with expertise in accounting, auditing, or financial management, chosen from the volunteers on the Board of Regents. We put in some language that obviously will depend on whether we have a member with such expertise on the Board of Regents. We also added, I think, a very important provision that all members of the Audit Committee will undergo training in basic financial information related to the financial management of the CSCU system, and that'll occur again on an annual basis. In addition, the chairman of the audit committee cannot also serve as the chairman of the finance committee, and that's to avoid any potential leadership and oversight conflicts in those two boards. The third section is committee responsibilities. The previous charter had one list of bullet points covering the committee responsibilities. For the amended charter, we've reorganized this section and added 4 subheadings. They include additional specificity to each of the 4 categories, which are A, financial reporting and external audit, B, internal audit, that includes the responsibilities and role of the Director of Internal Audit, C, compliance, ethics, and enterprise risk management, and D, follow-up and transparency. And that includes the creation of a dashboard that will allow us to mark the progress of addressing external audit findings. That's very important for our own information, but also to make sure those recommendations get implemented. Section 3, okay, advance to that, is committee responsibilities, which I just covered. So now we're up to 4. That's the good news. 4 is meetings. That section was modified to require quarterly meetings, other meetings as necessary, and to receive reports at each meeting from the Director of Internal Audit. We'll receive periodic reports from the Chief Compliance Officer, the Chief Information Officer, and annual meetings with the system's external auditor. Section 5 is annual review of activities and charters. This section remains essentially the same, adds an external audit every 5 years that'll take a look at our internal audit process. And Section 6 is new. It's reporting to the board. It basically puts in writing that certain findings will be communicated to the Board of Regents, specifically any significant audit findings or audit compliance matters and enterprise risk exposures that are known to the Director of Internal Audit. So again, I'd like to thank our committee members, also the Governance Committee, and ask, again, with the chair's permission, for Brian Green to just give a little insight into his role and what he did to find additional provisions in our charter that update us in a necessary manner. Brian.
Good morning. Thank you, Regent Williams, and thanks for allowing me a few minutes, and welcome, Chancellor Braswell. One of the first things that I undertook when I began in January was the process of assisting Regent Williams in updating the Audit Committee charter. And I want to first thank Regent Wright for all your work in all the years on the Audit Committee. Thank you so much. During your time, there was not a Director of Internal Audit, so the charter couldn't contemplate that role, which is one of the reasons it was so important to get it updated. So I took a look, I looked at 8 large public universities across the country, and also 2 private universities as well, and reviewed their audit charters, and there was a common flavor, and Regent Williams alluded to many of them. And I prepared a buffet for him to review initially, to kind of pick and choose what he thought would be the most appropriate. But there, as he illuminated, there was some areas that were extremely important. So obviously it was important to modernize the charter because of the addition of the Director of Internal Audit. Modernizing the charter also helps set the Board of Regents up to address any past issues and more importantly, look forward to help us to try to avoid any future issues through strong Audit Committee governance. The world is really very different now than when the Audit Committee charter was first likely written. And to modernize, like I said, I reviewed many different charters. The qualities I tried to pull from them were all best practices. And really, that's what Regent Williams and the Audit Committee did eventually choose. So one of the things it was for the Director of Internal Audit to have unfettered access to information throughout our system. It's important not because, it's the all-knowing, omnipotent one to be in audit, but it's important that internal audit is able to drill down on a particular issue or subject to determine the risk and exposure to the board, to the students, to our taxpayers, to our constituency. It was important for the director to have unfettered access to the audit committee, to hear from the director directly, unfiltered, so that the chair of the audit committee could report to the board, again, unfiltered and direct. And while internal audit's truly a system asset, we're always cheering for CSEU in the system. We really, at the end of the day, don't have a horse in the race. We're just trying to simply drill down and arrive at the answer, whatever the answer is, truthfully, transparently, and honestly. It was also important to include enterprise risk management, compliance, and information technology. And so that the audit committee heard from the chief compliance officer and the chief information officer at least twice a year. Obviously, the audit committee meets more often or as often as necessary, and that the director provides regular updates, again, through a recommendation dashboard that includes aging of our unresolved findings, where we're at, and the progress towards the resolution and remediation of those findings. And lastly, that the director of internal audit, utilizing other professionals that are already within our system office and throughout our system, to provide the audit committee annual training on financial audit and compliance matters to really aid the regions in feeling more equipped for their role on the audit committee. So thank you all very much. Thank you, Regent Williams.
Thank you, Brian. And I just want to end by saying that the other thing that we want to make sure we achieve on the audit committee is to do everything we can to preserve the independence of our internal auditor, because we really see this role as one of being able to be proactive and avoiding findings in external audits, and also to be, in a very positive sense, a watchdog in that regard, so that we can succeed in being proactive and avoiding issues in the future. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Don, thank you very much, both for all your work and pushing this new thing forward. Obviously, with a new head of internal audit, we have an opportunity to rethink and re-execute on this. And Siri, see you taking the baton from Ira. No strategy too big, no detail too small to move it forward. And we certainly appreciate you driving that forward. And Brian, thank you for your time as well. I'd like to recognize Chair Balducci for the Finance and Infrastructure Committee reports.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Finance Committee met on Wednesday, the 10th, and we had several recommendations. As you know, financial advisors are very important. Good financial advisors are hard to come by. I feel we have an outstanding one in Lloyd Blanchard, who is up there now going to explain several pieces of this for us. The first being the 2 contracts for $2.5 million.
First couple of items for your consideration are the contracts that value greater than. First contract is a contract between maximum value of this contract is $3. The term extends from July 1 of the current year. Is for emergency communication services, whereby the CT state campus all over the state would have a direct communication link to the local police departments around their study campuses. University or college, because our first order of business is to take care of
long as that contract was procured in a public procurement process. So we ask for your approval for the mutual aid contract for up to $3 million.
I think we should vote on these individually.
yes, sir.
Move along. If so, why don't, a motion to, for approval. Is there a second? Motion made, seconded, discussion. If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Continue there.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The next item for your approval is a contract between the System Office and Aetna Life Insurance Company. This contract will provide accident insurance for our university students. This is only for our university students because our community college and Charter Oak students are already insured through the state policy. This particular insurance policy extends through the end of June in 2028. And so this contract will increase the rates for the premiums that the students pay. The rates would be increased from $68 per student to $83 per student. And we fully plan to look for opportunities to have the universities engage with the state policy once we find our opportunity to exit this particular agreement. So we seek your approval for this insurance policy for accident insurance for our students. This covers our students on campus or off campus, or even if they travel across the country or internationally. And approving this contract would also approve the rate increase from $68 to $83.
You repeat the rate again, in 68 now?
The current premium rate that the students pay is $68. This would increase it to $83.
Comments? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify.
A motion first, sir.
Motion to accept. Is there a second? Motion made, seconded. Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion's carried. What happened? Next item on the agenda is the partnership agreements. Lloyd?
Thank you, sir. Next slide, please. These partnership agreements for which we seek your approval are between Eastern Connecticut State University and two organizations. The first is Hartford Healthcare. The second is Northeast Connecticut Chamber of Commerce. Both of these agreements with Eastern Connecticut State seek a 10% discount for the employees of these organizations. So for Hartford Healthcare, this discount would apply to employees of Hartford Healthcare that choose to come back to Eastern Connecticut State University to pursue courses there. The second contract, the second partnership agreement is with Northeast Connecticut State Chamber of Commerce. This 10% discount would apply to employees of the chamber as well as employees of the membership of the chamber. And so we seek your approval for each contract here today.
Discussion. Yes, Ted.
So just to quickly reiterate, for those who may not have listened into the Finance Committee meeting, I oppose this for two major reasons. So first of all, let me just clarify, and Lloyd, just jump in here. This is a partnership agreement, but it is a test, right? Because this is a, what's the timeline on this? 1 year?
The timeline is 1 year, and yes, we are still operating these partnership agreements as a pilot.
Right. So I want to just clarify that these are not permanent. These are 1 year tests. And previously, the board and the Finance Committee have established that as a way for us to test and experiment. And I think that experimentation is good. However, I believe that our norm, and again, jump in here, for our prior agreements has been a 5% tuition discount. And I oppose it on those grounds because I do not think 5 to 10% is a meaningful increase. However, it does create an incentive that I do not want our schools to have to compete against each other for tuition. And you better believe the third parties would certainly love to see that and would love to pay less. And that is not cooperatively better for us as a system, which is why I oppose that. The second reason is because I believe that we need to think more creatively than simply tuition discounts. Now, I appreciate that tuition discounts are important. Let's not minimize the importance of getting people in our doors. It's important to have revenue. It's important to have net revenue. And I appreciate that CFO at Eastern previously outlined that these are net positive, certainly in terms of revenue. However, I believe that we need to think more creatively, and I invite that the presidents and anyone proposing these partnership agreements to us think more creatively rather than simply approving discounts, that we think about other alternative measures that we can use in conjunction with discounts to get more students in our doors, to get students to be productive and finish in our schools and be in a way that is not competitive amongst ourselves. So for those reasons, I oppose this. I just want to go on the record. It will probably pass anyway, but that's just a recap of what happened when I made those comments in the Finance Committee. Thank you.
Other comments? I would agree with you on the 5%, by the way, as opposed to 10. We're putting ourselves in competition with one another. Why not 15, 20, or 25? And that's an issue I have a problem with. Yes, Donald?
I'll just repeat my comments that I made at the Finance Committee meeting. I respect Ted's opinion and where he's coming from on that. But given that we have not, as a board, set a policy for what the percentage should be, and I understand Ted's concern is right on, and that we should deal with that issue. But in the absence of a policy, I don't think that this particular partnership, which I think is an excellent partnership between Hartford Healthcare and Eastern and the nursing program, which really has been lifted up as a significant and very positive initiative, that should still go forward on a trial basis. And then I think it's incumbent for us as a board to grapple with the issues that Regent Yang has just mentioned in terms of the overall policy. So I will support this. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Just two brief comments. The first one is I do hope that it passes, not because of your opposition, but otherwise. I certainly appreciate your feedback, Ted. On a serious note, I think it is important that we think of it. And I want to build off of what not only what Don said, but also take this opportunity. We've talked about accountability and transparency as being important. It's something that we're focused on. And there's an opportunity for us here to do both of those two things. And what I mean by that is this board, through the Finance Committee, had asked for us as a board to convene, or that committee to convene, to determine what are the right guardrails to put in place for these partnerships, such that we can empower our institutional leaders to go out and be creative, to harness their own individual entrepreneurial spirit, but within a framework that allows us to broadly work cooperatively. And this is where the accountability comes in. We, as the Finance Committee, and I'll say we since I've been on it, did not follow through on getting that done. We've had a couple other things that popped up in the last 2 months. So we do need to get back to that. And I agree exactly with what Regent Williams said. I intend to support this and support it because it is in the spirit of what we ask these institutions to do, from a entrepreneurial spirit, try something new, let's see what works, so that we can reach more students, get them in the door, help them stay and complete and off to a better life. And yet also agree with Regent Yang that we need to create those guardrails, and is something that this board will take on, not on its own, not in a vacuum, with input to get done, but we will take that on. And when we can get that done, that should cover all the stuff. And in the meantime, I hope as a board, we can approve this so that we can keep moving forward and show publicly our support for our institutional leaders being creative and trying to drive change in the system.
Ira?
Thank you. As you may remember, I was not a fan of tuition waivers in the past. But this particular proposal, I think, is a more substantive proposal in the sense that, as I understand it, we have 0 students now in either of these involved with the Northeastern Chamber or with Hartford Healthcare. The earlier proposal, which I had commented negatively about, we didn't even know how many students we had in these institutions. This is a place where we can measure the results. And I think that's what we need to do to evaluate the tuition waiver programs. If we had 0, And then the 10% discount tells us that 20 new students pop up in these places. This is a net gain. In the earlier proposal from Central, we wouldn't know what the net gain was or would not have been. So I think, and this is a one-year plan, I think we need to see what tuition waivers do here and how effective they are in a setting where we can actually measure the result and see the result. So although I was not supportive of the earlier proposal, I am also supportive of this proposal. I think we need to see if this works. And I think this is a very good way of, through this particular proposal, that we can measure this.
Thank you. Are other comments? Yes, Mr. President.
If I could just provide an institutional context, this will just take a second. When I arrived at Eastern, we didn't have any such partnership agreements in the entire region. So from my perspective and listening to the board last year, I felt it was an impetus that you provided us to expand and engage in this way. And it's been very meaningful. We have other partnerships that we're thinking about. I understand the context of how we think about the system and also about competition. But what I will say is that Northeastern Connecticut is not Central Connecticut, is not Western Connecticut, is not Southern Connecticut. We have challenges, certain challenges that the other regions do not have. So I argued that we need to provide an incentive to ensure that we're able to activate these in a constructive way. In real numbers, if we have 30 enrollments, the discount across the entire board is $5,850. That's what we're talking about. There are definite other ways, and President Bernal has talked about this, that we can think about cohort models and different models. Honestly, the work that has gone into creating these particular partnership agreements is one side of the equation. The discount is another, but please also understand that when we negotiated these arrangements, we also talked about internships. We also talked about partnerships in our career fairs, and we also talked about engaging with Eastern. These are benefits that are the kinds of benefits that we're really looking for. So the 10% is a way in. The larger issue and what the metric will not provide when we come back next year are those much more intangible benefits to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. Del?
Yeah, I'd like to chime in. We had discussed this recently, so we're on the same page. I think these agreements are great, and if they could include things like internships, mentorships, access to facilities, things that could have a dollar value put on them, then it doesn't look like a charity issue, but a very meaningful transaction that benefits both parties.
Good point. Thank you. Other comments? Okay, try your minds on the issue. All those in favor? I didn't have. Is there a motion, please?
I'll move to.
You move it. Seconded. Motion made and seconded.
To approve
Other comments?
To approve the partnership agreement.
Yes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion passes. Moving right along, I would like to back up one. It's a simple one. It deals with the clarification of the tuition refund policy. It's just a clarifying language change. I don't know if there's any discussion on it. I don't see any. I would ask, make a motion to move that item. Is there a second? Motion made, seconded. Discussion, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you. Let's see, we are now down to the increases in management confidential employees' wages. We didn't have enough time in the committee to discuss those things. Lloyd, I think you were part of that.
No, I think
And we're going to move that.
we did discuss the management confidential raises. I think you were referring to the fund balance action plan.
Excuse me. Yes, correct me.
Pardon me. Just on this topic, we're management confidential and the unrepresented wage increases. The latter, the unrepresented wage increases is what Rich is talking about that we did not
That's what
talk
it's
about.
Got it.
So what we'd like to do is move that to the August,
No, sir. I think when we speak about management confidential raises, we are speaking about unrepresented employees in
Correct.
general.
yes.
Some of those are called management confidentials. Others are unrepresented, called something else. So this is about unrepresented employees in
So
general.
we're moving that for a vote forward then.
Let me go ahead and walk the committee through, let me walk through this, if you will.
Yes, I would appreciate you doing that. First, let me make a motion to do that. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Please continue on that line.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. What you see on the screen is embedded in the proposed spending plan for FY27 that we will cover with the next slide. This is part of the board's responsibility to approve wage increases explicitly for unrepresented employees. What you see on the screen is the total cost of our wage increases, including the CBAC increases that are the vast majority of the $62.4 million in costs that would cover the FY26 retroactive payments and the FY27 payments going forward. You will see that for the collective bargain, for the represented employees, those costs in FY26 will amount to $27.7 million. And for the unrepresented employees, which you see shown under the M/C column, amounts in FY26 to $2.3 million. For FY27, the collective bargaining increases will cost us $58.1 million, and the cost for the unrepresented raises would cost $4.8 million. The reason why the FY27 numbers are higher than the FY26 is because the FY26 raise rolls into FY27, and those increases have to be approved. The board's, the conversations that we've been having with the board and their involvement on this particular issue was related to whether or not we apply the same raise that was applied to the represented employees to all unrepresented employees. And the concern of those regions was that some highly paid employees throughout the system may not need to receive 4.5%. So the conversation among the regions landed into a place where most employees below some level would receive 4.5% increases, just like the represented employees, but those above a certain level, mainly at the executive level, would receive less of a raise. For those at the institutions, that would be 3%. And to be clear, and you see it on the screen, that 3% would apply to executives at the institutions. For executives at system office, and that would imply manager 3s and executives, that raise would be 2.5%. So for most employees that are unrepresented by unions, they would receive the same 4.5% increase as the represented employees. For those employees who earn a higher level, at the executive level of above for the institutions, and at the manager 2-3 level and above for the system office, we would receive less than 4.5%. As I said, for the institutions, that would be 3%. For the system office executives, that would be 2.5%. We seek your approval for these wage increases.
Thank you. Motion's been made and seconded on this. Is there discussion? Yes, Ted?
Just again, a quick recap on some of this stuff. First of all, I want to thank both you, Chair Balducci, Vice Chair Santiago, and the members of the Finance Committee, as well as the presidents, for the spirited discussion that we had on this. I think this was not an easy decision for us to make. The costs of our personnel represent the lion's share of our budgets, and as we know, our budgets are not in good shape, as you're about to see, for the fiscal 27 approval. So it is very difficult for us to sit here on the one hand and say that we need to make increases at the same time in which we see massive deficits, right? I think that for anybody that's difficult, but it was difficult for the members of this committee. However, I think we collaborated to get somewhere on this that does a couple of things that I hope people appreciate. One is we have heard from NECHI and plenty of other people who've looked at some of our institutions that our administrative costs have increased significantly and perhaps too much. or certainly too much, certainly in their opinion. And therefore, the desire of the board, of the committee of the board, hopefully the board, as well as the people in the member institutions to basically commit to being part of the solution, right? To lead with their example, literally where it hurts them personally in their wallets is appreciated. Because I think that is the kind of leadership we're going to have to show decisively in order for us to get past these deficits, which are existential. And so that is one thing that I think everyone should appreciate. The other thing also is understand that fiscal year 26, we are already in it. So I think there was no appetite for anyone to mess with those numbers because people are already, these are the paychecks you're already getting today. And you have every right to expect that those to be stable, and this will apply retroactively as well as going forward. But we're already in that year. So we're talking about fiscal year 27 really only and having people put more skin in the game, acknowledging that the pace that we're in and the place that we need to get to. So I just want to make sure everyone is fully cognizant of that.
Thank you. Thank you, Ted. Further comments before we take? Yes, I'm sorry, Ira.
I think we have to look at what the markets are here. The executive, the university executive is a national market. People get offers, particularly people who are talented, who we'd want to keep, can search for jobs in other places. And, this is a different market. And I think unless we keep the salaries at a level that will retain the people we need to retain, I think we can be a penny wise and pound foolish here. The total impact of the executive increases on the CSCU budget in the aggregate is probably minuscule. I used to work on this for CUNY. We had the same kind of issue. And the people we don't want to alienate are the people we really need to make the system operate. And the senior executives, for better or for worse, are the people we depend on the most in many ways. So I don't see, if we're giving 3% to the institutional executives, I think we should give 3% to the system executives. And maybe that's low, or maybe that's not low. But, I think I don't want to lose people that we need to have here. And if we make the executive salaries unattractive, that is what's going to happen.
And further comments, Mr. Chairman?
Ira, comments are well taken and well placed. I think this structure came to in a way that we felt meets the appropriateness of a signal of the seriousness of where we are financially and on the people who are the most responsible for helping us get us to the next place, while recognizing that retention item that you've, I think, very correctly brought up. The other thing I would bring up from a finance committee perspective is that in addition to this program, we also charged system leadership, both at the system office as well as in partnership with the institutions, to do a complete salary review, a compensation analysis across the system with action recommendations that's due back to the finance committee by March 31st, end of Q1. And we said in the committee, and I'll publicly state here again, if that thing comes back and says we have to readjust and relook at our executive salaries because they're too low, that is a conversation that the committee is very open to having, and we'll bring forward that to the board because we understand precisely what you're saying. We will not get, well, I'll paraphrase, you tell me if I'm paraphrasing wrong, we will not get to the destination we want to get to if we don't recruit and retain the best leadership we can have for the benefit of the faculty, the staff, the public, the taxpayers of Connecticut, and most importantly, the students that we serve. So you're just say that to say your comments are well recognized. I think they've been addressed. If you disagree, feel free, but that's how we got to where we are.
Thank you. Further, yes.
I just want to thank you, Regent Balducci. I just want to talk about the Human Resources and Administration Committee meeting that we had on June 12th before we continue with the vote. We discussed the proposed increases for management. Oh, sorry. Okay, can you hear me? Okay, awesome. All right. I want to discuss the proposed increases for management, confidential, and other unrepresented employees, including discussion of position classifications, salary compression concerns, budgetary impacts, and other related compensation factors. I'm just going to go over everything that we've discussed at the Human Resources Committee. For fiscal year 2026, the HR and Administration Committee endorses a 4.5 increase for eligible system office and institutional management confidential employees, and a 5.25 increase for other eligible non-represented employees at CT State Community College, and a 4.5 increase for other eligible non-represented employees at Charter Oak State College. For fiscal year 2027, the HR and Administration Committee endorses a 4.5 increase for eligible system office management confidential employees at the level of manager 2 and below, and a 2.5 increase for eligible system office management confidential employees at a manager 3 and executive levels. A 4.5 increase for eligible institutional management confidential employees at the level of manager 3 and below, and a 3% increase for eligible institutional management confidential employees at the executive levels. In addition, for fiscal year 2027, the HR and Administration Committee endorses a 5.25% increase for other eligible non-represented employees at CT State Community College, and a 4.5 increase for other eligible non-representative employees at Charter Oak State College. I just wanted to add that, and that concludes a summary of what we discussed at our committee meeting on June 12th.
I want to
Thank
thank you.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Sophia. I really appreciate that follow-up. And just to kind of be clear for maybe people who weren't fully plugged into all this, in addition to the management confidential, there are other unrepresented employees, which are typically very, very part-time type employees. And so sort of consistent with the idea that those employees will get the benefits that the represented employees get, that's where you're hearing those kind of other numbers that are outside of just the management confidential sort of executive leadership areas. So that's just to clarify that point. Rick?
Quick question. The HR committee's recommendations, are they all consistent with the recommendation coming out of the finance?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you.
Other comment?
May I ask a clarifying question? Holly Williams?
Yes.
Can you just clarify for me what the policy is going to be for those members that are covered by this resolution that are at max?
I don't think I understand the question, or we understand the question. Holly, could you say it again?
So if there's a salary scale and you have employees within these job classes that are at the max of the salary scale, are we going to extend them the percentages agreed to in the resolution, or is there going to be a lump sum payment provided to them, which is customary?
I think we're going to have our head of human resources, Jennifer Person, comment on that.
Thank you.
Typically, when there are increases like this, we do adjust the pay scales that are in place for our management confidential employees. We do need to look at the pay scales. That will have to go through the management confidential classification and compensation committee. We will look at past practices to see what was previously done in similar situations. But it is on our radar to review, as Chair Santiago had mentioned, that there will be a full review of compensation. So if I can, I'll take that as a to-do to look at past practice, and I will get back to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? If not, we'll try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's carried. Thank you. Okay, the last item on the agenda there for action is the spending plan.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is something we do every June in advance of the start of the next fiscal year, which is on July 1, and that's in about 12 days. Before you now is the proposed FY27 spending plan. We seek your approval for spending $1.34 billion across the system in FY27. This year was unique because we rolled out a new process that the board sought to get greater involvement in how we engage in our budget development. And what we did was this year, for the first time, we had 3 meetings of the Finance Committee to evaluate the institutional and the system office budgets. The first meeting was in April to talk about some of the assumptions underlying putting budgets together, the rate increase assumptions, the enrollment assumptions, and other assumptions relevant to putting together a budget. In May, we presented the regents in the Finance Committee with the full details of the institutional budgets and the system office budgets. We spent 2 strong hours going over those budgets with the presidents and their CFOs present to answer all of the regents' questions. And that was a very productive session, I would say. And we certainly appreciated the feedback that we received from that session that then got incorporated into these final budget proposals that we're asking for your approval today. The details of the budgets are in your packet. You will see the new format that we are using in that packet. You will also see a supplementary schedule that is the old format. We're using that because we have a requirement to send your approved budget to Chifa, who is our lending agent, and this is a part of our covenant requirements for our debt. And as a point of personal privilege, I'd like to commend CFO Michael Moriarty, who is the CFO of Charter Oak, who was called by the previous chancellor to lead this reform process in my absence for medical leave. Michael, thank you for your time and your effort. Michael, together with the institutional CFOs, really did yeoman's work in thinking about the new format for the budget, being directly responsive to the regent's calls for improved reporting, budgetary reporting, and financial reporting. So Michael, thank you so much for your efforts. CFOs, thank you too for your efforts. So Mr. Chairman, we seek your approval for the spending plan shown on the screen. You will see each of the institution's revenues and their expenditures and their deficits. Unfortunately, this spending plan shows a $156 million deficit across the system, and you can see each of the institutional deficits on the screen, ranging from just less than $1 million to $28.5 million. However, we have been in discussions with the board chair and others about ways that we can bring our community together from across the system to address this most difficult problem in bringing our fiscal balance, bringing our fiscs within structural balance. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I ask for your approval for the FY27 spending plan. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And if I can't answer those questions, our presidents and our CFOs are available to do so.
Hey, thank you. Are there comments or questions on any of this? Yes, Richard.
Oh, good.
I want to start by saying thank you. It's really encouraging to hear this presentation and the recommendation embodied in it, and also the work that's been done to change the way we do this. We asked for a more time to think about our budget each year and a more a fuller process for input from different people, and that's what happened. So thank you for that. In that same spirit, and I know we've talked about these issues before, but I hope we can be thinking in an ongoing way about how we compare, CSCU system compares with similar systems in terms of the percent of state funding or support that goes into higher ed, the percent of, and there's some good treatment in here of this, but more work on full-time faculty versus adjunct faculty. I think it's a really important issue. The net cost to students, which is something you've talked about before, and student to faculty ratios and student to staff ratios, just so all of us can have a better understanding of what goes into these budgets each year when we act on. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I may, I didn't quite finish my presentation. I wanted to explain the reserves component of this proposal. So, if I may.
Yes, before you go into that, I wanted to just piggyback while we're in this topic. I'm very happy to see the improvements in the process of working with the Finance Committee, so that there's better communication up front. I also want to see, and I'm happy to see that the HR Committee recommendations are consistent with the Finance Committee recommendations. That's a very important part. And to continue to improve that process, because when we start talking about doing reviews, we should probably build into the process perhaps some joint meetings between the HR Committee and the Finance Committee to make sure that we're gathering the data, looking at it the same way, and come to the best recommendations we can. I just think it's a best practice, and we're already on our way to that, but I'd like to see continued improvement in that coordination as well.
Thank you, Anita. Other comments?
I think CFO Blanchard wanted to add something to the presentation before the approval.
Yes, before approval, I ended my presentation with a very large deficit of $156 million. Next slide, please. And we plan on closing those deficits across the system with our reserves. You'll see on the slide now that we currently are projecting at the end of the current fiscal year reserves amounting to $537 million. We plan in this budget proposal, we plan on using $164 billion from our reserves, and you can see what that would be for each institution to close the respective deficits. Now, $164 million is greater than $156 million deficit. That is simply $7 to $8 million worth of investments being proposed by Central Connecticut State University.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman?
I just at the risk of repeating over too much of what's been said, I will just say, as someone who's been in the trenches, kind of working, on these changes and improvements in transparency, along with the other members of the Finance Committee, yourself, Regent Williams, Regent Yang, and then other people that we've engaged on the board through the process. It has been very refreshing to see that collaboration working. And I don't know if it will be as spicy or riveting as the ASA committee meeting to watch, but for those who are interested in watching the Finance Committee recordings the last couple of times, we have been really clear about executing, I think, very strong governance in terms of setting clear expectations for management, holding management accountable, and being a partner, not using the accountability as a weapon, but using it as lever point to work together for the better outcome. And I think we're starting to see that. And one of the things I would just highlight, if we could go back one slide, is I've heard from and have felt myself as a board member being able to see clearly sort of where we are from an operating perspective on an institution by institution basis. And we're really getting much more clarity around that. And then, of course, the use of reserves to understand where that goes. And I know that both internally and externally, people have been asking, how are we using our reserves? What are they being used for? And if we could have better and clearer transparency around all that, we are making a lot of progress in that area. That is a group effort. I want to thank our financial staff in the system office, as well as the financial staff at the institutions and the leadership of the institutions, as well as the board for working together on that. And I'll conclude my comments here by saying the most important skill the Finance Committee has been asking for is not to try and get it perfect, but to make continuous improvement a key part of the culture so that we continue to improve over time. We've seen that over the course of this year, in the course of the last 3 meetings, and I know that that sense of collaboration and continuous improvement is something we're going to build on to solve this budget problem, and one that we're going to rely on heavily and have to be creative on to do this the right way. So,
thank you, Mr. President. Other comments?
Well, that concludes my presentation, but comments are welcome.
Take action on the item then. If there are no, yes.
Hello. Could you just briefly explain the 15 million difference again?
Difference
In one of those slides, not the last one that we saw. Yeah.
between the reserve usage and the deficit?
Yeah.
Okay. So our deficit is projected to be $156 million for FY '27. To close that deficit, we plan to use our reserves. You see on the current slide in that middle column that we plan to use $164 million of our reserves. That's greater than the deficit. That just means at least one of our institutions will be using their reserves for strategic investments. Actually, two of our institutions, both Central and Charter Oak, are drawing down reserves for strategic investments, not to close deficits.
Other comments? Rick, did you, no? No other comments? Okay, try your minds again. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Did we do a motion? Did we? Sure. Let's just do the motion again.
We did the motion.
We did? Okay, then great.
Hold on, Mr. Chairman. Holly Williams has her hand up.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
No, I'm sorry. I neglected to take it down, but thank you for recognizing me.
Okay, so we'll try it again. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's carried. Thank you.
And before we conclude the finance report, we do need to just circle back for a moment. I'll take another opportunity to highlight both accountability and collaboration. System Office has brought to the attention of the board that over the course of time, the board has the authority to approve management confidential raises. Over the course of time, we have at times delegated that authority. We have taken it back. We have redelegated it. And it was brought to our attention that it is a bit unclear where it sits at this moment. You have received a resolution at your desk right now, which not only includes the details of the raises, which we already discussed, but also reclarifies that the board is the authority body in making those decisions. And this resolution makes that very clear so that there is no ambiguity. So I think that's an important component. And so I would ask that we actually properly consider and approve this resolution. And so I'll
Chair Santiago, can I make a recommendation to you all?
please.
I would recommend that you first make a motion to reconsider the vote on the management confidential increases and then have a second vote on the resolution.
Can I get a motion to reconsider the raises for the management confidential? So move. Do I have a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. All right. Now can I have a motion to approve the Connecticut Board of Regents for Higher Education resolution concerning management confidential and unrepresented salary increase for today's date? Can I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second? All right, any discussion? Just to reiterate, this is in the main, the action here is consistent with what the Finance Committee and the Human Resources Committee have approved and we previously discussed. The other component here is to clarify our authority in doing this, that it has not been delegated, and if it had been, we are taking it back. Okay, then let's try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. There we go. All right. That passes with unanimous consent. Yeah.
Excuse me, Chair Santiago,
Please. Donna, please.
one more.
Okay.
So we approved the agenda with the fund balance
got it. Yep.
actions.
Yep, I got it. I got it.
So you can.
We,
remove
there was fund balance, action items. Given all the work being done, that topic was unable to be raised through committee. And so we're looking for the board's support in tabling that item, for a future meeting. So, I would look for a motion to, second? Okay, any discussion? In that case, let's try your minds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. There we go. Okay, now, good to go? Yes, thank you, Felicia. I appreciate that. And thank you, Chair Balducci, for that report. This is always the busy time of the year for you. I know the work you put in, we very much
And the
appreciate it.
committee, they're very,
Fair enough.
it's just great to have those folks there on that committee.
Go ahead. Regent Williams.
Mr. Chairman, if it's appropriate,
A little closer to the microphone.
if it's appropriate, before we leave number 14, if we're almost done with that on the agenda, is that where we are at this point?
No, I think we're going to be, we have some more reports. We got governance.
Okay, okay.
human
all right.
resource technology.
I was just going to, and I know we're going to get to it, but we'll need a motion to approve the consent agenda, all the non-financials that have not already been voted on. That was my point. Thank you.
Got it. Thank you. I appreciate that. It's only my second meeting, Tom, but we'll get there. Governance, I'd like to recognize Regent Porth for a report on the Governance and Nominations Committee.
I'll make this quick. The Governance and Nominations Committee met on June 8th, and regents in attendance were Ira Bloom, Juanita James, Don Williams, and myself. We acted on a few things in a formal way, including approval of the Leadership Continuity Plan, which is on your consent agenda. It's item 14H, and just very quickly, it covers continuity guidelines for the chancellor and for the institutional presidents for both short-term absence, long-term absence, extended absence, and absence without notice. I won't go into more detail than that, but it's a thorough plan that was carefully reviewed. We also approved, and you heard from Regent Williams about this, the Audit Committee Charter. Really good work by the Audit Committee, and I think you got a good presentation on what it entails. All I'll say is that it's a concrete indication of something else we've been wanting to do for a while, which is that idea of having a more formalized and resourced way of doing an internal audit, compliance work internally, being more proactive, and frankly strengthen process for us to be able to fulfill our responsibilities as the board. And so that's a big step in the right direction. As Don reported, that's item 14M on the consent agenda. I reported about this a few weeks ago at our board meeting. We continue our work on onboarding and orientation training. We had our first meeting, and that was on May 13th. At the last meeting, I described the items that go into that training, which is now required by state statute. And we will be scheduling a second and maybe a third session in the coming weeks so that all board members can participate. We have scheduled a special governance and nominations committee meeting for September 2nd, when we will work, I think, exclusively on reviewing and updating the Board of Regents bylaws, the CSCU bylaws. And that's an important item which we'll be reporting back on after that. And then we'll continue our ongoing work, includes our ongoing review of committee charters, just as we did with the audit committee, but also the nominations, the process, and how we can be more proactive in recommending to our appointing authorities who could fill certain roles on this Board of Regents. And that's a really important process, has been for a while. It is especially now because we've got some more vacancies that we need to address. And that's my report. Thanks.
Rick, thank you so much for the work. And I think, as you referenced, there's some really important work, both that needs to happen and is happening. And so we look forward to continuing to support that work. I'd like to recognize Human Resources and Administration Committee Chair Sophia Japan. And Sophia, beyond the Management Confidential, do you have an update to share with the board?
No, no further update.
Well, then, thank you very much for that dutiful work and supporting that decision. certainly making sure we take care of our management confidential employees is very important work. So thank you for that support. I don't think we have a report from our technology committee, but I'll still recognize Chair Ted Yang just in case he has one.
No, no report. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. All right. In that case, let me just see. We'll get the reports from the presidents, then we'll do a motion to approve the consent agenda. So can we I'd like to move to institutional updates for presidents. And so we'll call it down the line, and we will kick off our updates with our outgoing president, who can give us his final update for Charter Oak State College, if he has one. I'm going to ask you to make one up, I think, Ed. Ed, you just gotta
Write that one
Ed,
down, write that
you
one
gotta
down.
unmute before you say something. You could tell us. You could
I
tell us about
actually-
the
I actually
extra
wrote-
budget
I
for
ac-
Kleenex. For
I
couples
actually
being
wrote
upset at
something
your
for you
department.
all. And I mentioned this to Rich. I believe Rich Balducci and I are the last original members of this congregation. 15 years ago, and like most of the other 17 presidents, I did not resist the merger. I thought it would be a good thing for Charter Oak to be part of this new, larger system. And when Roberta Willis asked me what I was worried about, I got a big laugh when I said Charter Oak would be a rounding error in the new system. You're supposed to laugh at that. Well, I think the years have proven me right. The merger has been good for Charter Oak by bringing us closer to our sister institutions. And for the record, I believe we are no longer a rounding error. Thank you.
Thank you. President Klonowski, delivered with your usual aplomb and speed on delivery, so we appreciate that. I'd like to recognize Interim President Christina Royale for Connecticut State Community College. Christina.
Thank you, everyone. Well, I spoke about our commencements at the last board meeting. We actually still have a few more graduations. Second Chance Pell is a federally supported program that allows incarcerated students to use U.S. Department of Education Pell Grant funding to pursue college coursework and earn credentials while incarcerated. CT State is celebrating 67 Second Chance Pell graduates this year, a strong reflection of the power of education to transform lives and futures. This year's graduates are earning 73 total credentials, including 26 associate degrees and 47 certificates. At McDougall Walker Correctional Institution, CT State is marking a historic milestone. 22 students earned associate degrees, 23 certificates awarded, and this is the largest graduating class at a single correctional department of Connecticut facility in the history of the program. Since launching in 2016, more than 2,024 students have enrolled in CT State's Second Chance Pell program. Today, the program operates in 8 Connecticut Department of Correctional facilities, serving approximately 300 students each semester. Also, want to give an update about our strategic plan, since this will be coming to the board in the fall. CT State is currently working on our inaugural strategic plan. The Strategic Planning Steering Committee is comprised of faculty, staff, administrators across the 12 campuses, Danbury Instructional Site, and the college office. Our steering committee meeting have met weekly since the start of the spring 2027 semester, with 2 in-person all-day planning sessions this month and next month. We have reviewed extensive qualitative and quantitative data and performed SWOT analysis, including environmental scans of the state of Connecticut, also an environmental scan of CT State, campuses, and college office feedback sessions, including faculty, staff, administrators, and students, with over 1,400 participants. President meetings with the campus foundations and community partners, legislative breakfasts, CT State workforce partner focus groups, reviewing our previous transitional plan, including successes and unrealized opportunities, peer institution strategic plans, and a presidential speaker series, which I started to bring external speakers from Connecticut as well as nationally to discuss emerging topics such as AI, the state of higher education, and workforce. 6 themes have emerged to be refined to 4 pillars: 6 goals have been proposed under each theme. Target metrics as well as aspirational benchmarks will be established as part of this plan. Our mission and vision are also being reviewed, as well as the establishment of a set of values. The draft strategic plan to be delivered to me by August, and then the plan will be presented to the college community in late August on Professional Day. While we have had significant feedback from and participation by internal and external stakeholders, this will be another opportunity for feedback before the plan is presented to the board in the fall. Also, CT State held its 2026 Compliance Institute last week, delivering a multi-day professional learning experience focused on compliance, civil rights, accessibility, and effective institutional response in higher education. The Institute featured nationally recognized experts from Grand River Solutions and provided training on key areas including FERPA, Title VI, Title VII, Title IX, ADA compliance, data privacy, and grievance practices. Strong participation was achieved with 189 attendees participating in the in-person sessions and additional 86 participating in the virtual opening. Regional collaboration was evident with registrants from our sister institutions, including Eastern, Central, and Western, as well as participation from community partners. The Institute strengthened CT State's commitment to a coordinated, system-wide compliance framework by bringing together campus leaders and external partners for consistent, student-centered implementation of legal and policy requirements. Led by our compliance officer and our coordinated compliance committee, these institutes have become a regular occurrence for CT State and help ensure that we're remaining current on the important topics and areas. Couple of other quick updates. CT State Tunxis graduated our first cohort of students from our Advanced Manufacturing Center, which is one of our newer manufacturing centers. And we had 8 graduates, all of whom have secured jobs. Our Tunxis dental hygiene program continued with 100% pass rate for all board exams, speaking to the quality of instruction that program delivers. And we also had our largest cohort of nursing students at CT State Capitol with 141. I want to thank the BOR for considering the updated Fresh Start policy today on the consent agenda. The Academic Fresh Start program is a one-time opportunity for eligible students returning to college after an absence of 2 or more years to refresh their GPA and essentially giving them a fresh start at college. We believe in second chances, and the changes to this policy will help us meet students where they are. I also want to recognize our ECR and our DEI teams for the work they did in preparing our affirmative action plan, which was formally approved last month by the state, reinforcing our commitment to equitable and inclusive employment practices. From the academic side, this summer, through a grant with the Connecticut Early Childhood Education Department, our early childhood education and world language and culture teachers are working together to explore the feasibility of offering a bilingual certificate in early childhood education with plans for the fall of 2027. I want to lastly congratulate and recognize student Regent Dakota Lawson, who graduated last month from CT State Northwestern and will be taking his talents to the other side of the state at transfer to Eastern Connecticut State University. President Ismaili, please take good care of him. He's been an incredible part of the CT State Northwestern community. Regent Lawson has been selected as the 2026 Phi Theta Kappa Gus White Scholar and will receive a $5,000 scholarship towards his baccalaureate studies. This scholarship is given to those who demonstrate academic excellence, leadership accomplishment, and engagement, and he's the first student in the history of CT State Northwestern to have been awarded this prestigious scholarship. Regent Lawson, I wish you much success in your next educational chapter.
It also sounds like he might still qualify to be a student regent here, so maybe after all. Thank you, Christina, for that tremendous update. Very much appreciated. So much great stuff happening at CT State, and we thank you. I'd like to recognize Central Connecticut State University President Zolma Toro, who had a physical injury and so can't join us in person, but I believe is with us virtually.
Yes, I am here. Good afternoon, everyone. Chair Santiago, thank you for the opportunity. I have very brief updates. First, our revision to the strategic plan was approved by the Faculty Senate in the last meeting of the academic year. We are extremely happy with the revisions. Originally, the plan was a 10-year plan, and we were at exactly the 5-year mark, and that was approved. Also, this is the time of the year that a number of things happen at Central. First, we are offering all the summer camps with students from elementary, middle school, and high schools that come to Central. And I would like to highlight the partnership we have with the Hartford Youth Scholars, a very strong partnership that brings students from Hartford to spend 2 weeks at Central. In addition to that, it's the time of the year in which our students go abroad. This year, we have more than 160 students studying abroad, supervised by faculty. And I would like to mention one specific trip that was important because it was a collaboration between professional education and our division of campus and community engagement, and was one trip that involved community members going to do El Camino de Santiago in Spain, and as I said, accompanied by 2 faculty members. The other thing that I would like to share is that we are working diligently at finding ways to close the budget gaps that you saw for next year and thereafter. We are looking at everything, including reorganization of areas, elimination of management confidential positions, consolidation of positions, and we are committed to reduce the budget gap as much as we can. But again, we need support from the state with some additional funding. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you those developments at Central.
Thank you, President Toro. Appreciate that. Both the content and the efficiency with which it was delivered. Thank you so much, and hope you feel better soon. I'd like to recognize Eastern Connecticut State University President Karim Ismaili. Karim.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Oops. I just want to also welcome Student Regent Dakota Lawson. He will be engaging with incredible faculty at Eastern, and I just want to recognize one of them, Dr. Kim Ward, a professor of mathematics, who has received the prestigious Charles Dunn Award for faculty from the Council of Public Liberal Arts Colleges. I also want to just say that we are in one of the most strongest enrollment positions at Eastern at this point for many years, and that's the dedication and hard work of our entire campus around this important issue. I will have more updates on that soon. Next Friday, we'll be celebrating the 20th anniversary of our Child and Family Development Resource Center. This is a preschool, students engaged in research. We have incredible community engagement. I learned that Regent Williams was there 20 years ago for the dedication. This is something that Dr. David Carter, former president of Eastern, had set out to create, and we're excited to honor that legacy. I want to also mention that the Eastern Warriors have claimed the Little East Conference Commissioners Cup, the league's highest honor for overall athletic excellence across all varsity sports. We also have, as Dr. Toro indicated at Central, we have many summer research institutes that are going on right now on our campus. It's great to see a vibrant campus in the summer in areas of film and poetry and original research. I'm also excited to say that we have an inaugural Summer Leaders Program. This is a civic leaders program where 9 students are completing a 6-week experiential learning program through Eastern Center for Community Engagement, blending coursework with hands-on service alongside local nonprofit partners. This initiative was fully funded by a foundation. We're excited for this. Students live on campus. They're stipended. They'll get course credit. We also have students around the world, Eastern students, taking tropical biology in Costa Rica, creative writing in Florence, cross-cultural well-being in Iceland, and music in Vienna. And finally, I just want to share something about the alumni receptions that we've recently held. We heard the story of 2 Eastern sociology graduates who followed very different career paths, yet found their way back to one another. One now leads a healthcare technology company. The other leads a federally qualified health center serving vulnerable residents. Today, those 2 graduates are working together to strengthen Willimantic, the very community that Eastern calls home. So over the last week, I have had the good fortune of meeting our alums in Boston and yesterday in New Haven. And when we think about the impact of what we provide over the life course, it's really stunning to listen to the stories and the contributions that many of our graduates are making across the state. So thank you so much, Regents, for all of your support as Eastern moves towards this great future.
Thank you, President Ismaili. Really great to hear. I very much appreciate the faculty acknowledgements, the student acknowledgements. That's really exciting stuff. Growing enrollment, while growing enrollment isn't the only thing that matters, it is the foundation of all other things that matter. And so we certainly appreciate that. And I'll even comment on the last thing you said, as we think about the North Star and taking the ACT framework to the next logical step, it is exactly those outcomes that we're thinking about, both helping our learners get there, staying with them as they do it, and seeing that impact spread. So that certainly, I think, is why almost all the regents have expressed to me in one way or another that they're here. So thank you so much for sharing that. I'd like to recognize from Southern Connecticut State University, Interim President Sandra Bulmer. Sandy.
Thank you. First, in direct relation to the budgets that were presented and approved today, our leadership team has been spending the month of June engaged in strategic discussions and decision-making that will allow us to achieve our budgetary requirements for fiscal sustainability. I wanted to make sure the board knows that's at the fore for us at Southern. But I also want to take this opportunity to publicly go on the record to affirm that we will do so in ways that affirm our social justice mission and values. Southern remains committed to social justice. As we look toward next year, our revenues related to enrollment are fluid, but we are especially encouraged by our continuing enrollment and transfer enrollment in particular. And while our first-time full-time freshman numbers are at this time lower than last year, they are considerably higher than in fall 2024. We had fiscal constraints this year that prevented us from leveraging additional institutional aid from our operating budget and using that as an incentive to recruit new freshman students. We're proud to share that although our first-time full-time freshman numbers are down compared to last year, our first-time full-time tuition revenues are nearly equal to last year. So we really are holding our price point, and we are really working on a multi-pronged strategy across graduate, transfer, continuing, and of course, the first-time full-time freshmen. So this is something that has our attention, and we're working hard to come up with good strategies. As this is summer, some have the impression that our campuses are quiet, but I can assure you that at 7 a.m. this morning, when we were notified that we had no power due to a car accident that took out a transformer near campus, the campus is very busy. We hosted thousands of athletes and volunteers on our campus and residence halls for the Connecticut Special Olympics at the beginning of June. We have 2 cohorts of accelerated nursing students, 2 cohorts of master's occupational therapy students, and a new cohort of Worth Endowed Industry Fellowship students on our campus right now, among many others that are doing summer programs. For the Worth Endowed Industry Fellowship, students conduct team-based interdisciplinary industry-motivated research to address societal challenges using quantum and nanotechnologies. It's a really fun program. We'll invite you to their final presentation at the end of summer. We also have students abroad doing all kinds of things, summer programs ranging from the full summer to a couple of weeks. It's an exciting time of year. Excellence remains our focus across our academic and co-curricular programs. It's always dangerous for a president to start highlighting things because someone gets left out, but our School of Business just graduated our first cohort of DBA, Doctor of Business Administration students, and 3 of them were U.S. Navy veterans. That was pretty cool. Our College of Education graduated a new cohort of students from the Residency Educator Program in Special Education. This innovative program prepares para-educators in Connecticut to earn both a master's degree and state certification while continuing to work and support their families. This is a really rewarding program. Our College of Health and Human Services continues to distinguish itself as leaders in addressing workforce needs in healthcare, behavioral health, and other related disciplines. And to that end, with support from Yale New Haven Health over the past 4 years, they've doubled from 100 to 200 graduates a year. And we're happy to report that we will continue that partnership with Yale to sustain and further grow those numbers. Our College of Arts and Sciences, in addition to the great work that's going on in the industry with the STEM programs, 11 of our journalism students and faculty earned statewide recognition at the recent Society for Professional Journalist Excellence Awards. And then finally, our athletic programs have had tremendous success during the past year, with both our women's lacrosse and women's basketball teams qualifying for the NCAA Division II tournament. This culminated with NCAA Division II Regional Coach of the Year honors for Melissa Stoll and Jen Wallen, our men's and women's track and field coaches. We're really proud of that program. And tonight I'll be at a really special dinner. That's a scholarship fundraising event for women's athletics. It's our Women Trailblazers event at ARIA in Prospect. So lots of great things at Southern, and thank you for all of your support.
Well, thank you very much for the update, Sandy. It's great to hear the Owls doing so well. So that's wonderful. Also, just a couple of other things I want to acknowledge. I think, your focus on the budget seriousness and taking it seriously, but leading that approach with values, I think is just the right approach that we're looking for. And we certainly appreciate you acknowledging that. We know it's hard work and look forward to supporting and partnering in that endeavor. And just 2 other comments. I think the use of our facilities in the summer, while it also ties into fiscal sustainability and budget assistance, is just another way to open our arms to embrace the communities that we're in. To have people experience something on campus, I can imagine if we're getting elementary school kids, high school kids in, and they come on campus and see things, all of a sudden they can imagine themselves on this campus in some few short years. Maybe their siblings could imagine the same thing. Maybe that opens the door to change an entire family's life. So I want to commend our institutional leaders for doing that and engaging in that way. And last but not least, really nice to hear the growth in the quantum stuff and the focus there. I remember not that long ago being at Southern with Governor Lamont doing the ribbon cutting and leaning into that quantum stuff, which is just another example of the criticality of CSCU and our member institutions in driving the state of Connecticut, both at the individual person level that we've just talked about and at the macro or quantum level, as it were, economically. And so we certainly appreciate that, Sandy, and thank you for your update. Last but most certainly not least, I want to recognize from Western Connecticut State University, President Jesse Bernal. Jesse.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Santiago. We need to go in reverse alphabetical order next time. WestCon's always last, but it's the best. You can hear us and remember what we're doing around here.
You always want the best running the anchor and the relay, right?
Go out on a bang. So thank you. I also want to start on sort of the budget pressure conversation and start by sharing my deep appreciation for the WestCon campus, particularly my colleagues on the senior team. As you all know, we spent this last year, and it'll be a year for me in a couple of weeks, really working hard to reduce our deficit. And, you know, what you saw today, I know is significant at 13 million, but we had anticipated nearly 25 million in this year. And in the last year, we have worked to reduce expenses by about 4.5 million to 5 million, including the elimination of 7 management positions and 4 vice president positions. So people are leaning in hard to doing more and doing better and doing things more efficiently. And we will continue to do those things and increase revenues. We've had to pivot a little bit on what I've called our financial resiliency blueprint. You know, we were hoping to close our deficit by fiscal year 30. I think we're going to need until 31 or 32, and some of that's going to take investment from the state, and of course some changes at the system level as well. And we'll be talking to the Finance Committee about that work. You know, we too have adopted a new strategy. It's actually a focused strategy from Western Rising, which was in place when I arrived here. And what we have done is adopted 4 commitments. And I'm just going to share briefly 2 because there's some cool updates there. One is called Strengthening Our Foundations, which is part of our financial resiliency plan. It's continuing to invest in our facilities, but also investing in our culture and our people as well, which really, really matters, particularly as we ask people to think differently, do things differently, and do more to support our students. As we think about our budget impact, we, like all of our colleagues, will have to always protect our core academic mission and things that impact our students deeply, and that is something that we're committed to doing. As part of another commitment, we've identified being the regional anchor and opportunity engine for Danbury and Western Connecticut. These are things that we already do, but one exciting new initiative that we will be launching in the fall that I want to give you an early preview on, we're calling it WestCon Works. And really there are 4 components to this that really are exciting as we leverage both our professional programs, our adult education programs, and our liberal education core. And what this means is that every student leaves WestCon with more than a degree. They will, you know, they'll have career readiness that they experience on day 1 at WestCon. This is tied to our commitment for 100% of our graduates to have work-based learning at least once before they graduate, but many times throughout that experience. We're calling it learning by doing, including exploring things like registered apprenticeships, things in advanced career preparation, working with our partner institutions to think about new pathways to their professional programs as well. And the 4th component is really leaning into our strong partnerships with employers, asking employers to help us shape the future of our academic programs and delivering the experiences for our students. And finally, thinking about learning over a lifetime. So workforce development for all stages of life. We're working with our Alumni Association to develop a fundraising campaign for a lifetime learning credit where graduates can come back and do a graduate degree or can do a certificate or continue their education maybe after a period of time in the workforce when they need to skill or upskill or reskill. We have applied for federal funding for this as well. So hopefully that enables us to expand some of that work. And then finally, we will be announcing this fall a Danbury Promise program, similar to programs that exist elsewhere. We will be doing this in partnership with Danbury Public Schools and a number of corporate partners that we are working to solidify right now. So for that, it means that we will provide last dollar financial aid to any student under a certain income who graduates from Danbury High School. We hope to expand that to the other 4 secondary schools in Danbury over the coming years. We are tying this to our dual and concurrent enrollment initiative. So the criteria is any student from Danbury High School who completes 2 dual credit courses and makes at least a B on those courses will have this free tuition opportunity. And we're really excited about some of the community partners who are going to lean into this work with us. So thank you for the opportunity.
Jesse, thank you so much for the update. I would say, really want to applaud your way in going about and rethinking and broader thinking about new ways to deliver what I think has always been the goal of our institutions, which is improving the lives of our learners. And I really want to commend you on being creative and thinking that way through. And as we've said with other folks as well, but really embracing the communities that we're in. I think by looking out and opening our arms and bringing them in, which is something I know you and I have talked about and I've heard you talk about, is really a key path to future success. And I applaud you for the different ways of learning it. And before we move on to the next thing, I'll just conclude by saying that, your approach, and I've had the opportunity to talk to faculty and faculty representatives at all the institutions, and I hear a lot of great things, but I hear a really great things, Jesse, particularly about your approach to how you go about making these changes and the way you bring the team along and engage in shared governance, not as a delay tactic, not as in a way to avoid doing anything, but to get it done in what I think is the right way. And that's, you're showing us the way to be able to make those changes and keep everybody aligned. So thank you for your hard efforts. And thank you to all the presidents for taking the time to do the updates and for taking the time to do all the hard work to help our learners move forward and move our institution forward. So thank you all very much for that. I'd like to look for a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda, which we heard in our report. So can I get a motion for that, please? Second. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. There we go. All right. I think we have some informational items on our agenda before we move to executive session. Let's see. Elise, hold on. Just don't, you can't, I'll be quick. Sorry. Can we, let's see, what do we have for the informational items? Do we have to just share the information about the contracts?
They're just contracts,
Yep.
the two contracts. And
So they're
then-
in the agenda packet. So I think that's good enough. Okay, great. So those are good there. If you have any questions about those, you can do them. Otherwise, I'd like to move to executive session. I know I have a script here somewhere. I'll be so quick, I promise.
Chair Santiago.
Here it is. I got it. Yep. Before I call for a motion to move to executive session, sorry.
Are you going to recognize Regent right before you move to executive session?
I already recognized, do I need to do this before I go to executive session? Oh, okay. Well, then I'll do that right now. And then she can also go. I was going to do it so we could talk to her, but I guess. Elise, in addition to us fawning over you with compliments and praise, which are very well earned, we also have something for you. On behalf of the Board of Regents and CSCU, all of our institutions, faculty, staff, students, and every member of the Board of Regents, current and past, we thank you so much for your service, and we have a little gift for you to take with you to acknowledge that service. So thank you so much, Elise. Which I expect to see in her Zoom background the next time. All right, go ahead.
I do want to say.
Oh, Joe, go ahead, please.
Under normal circumstances, I would never leave, but I got a 6-year-old who's going to be graduating from kindergarten down the street. So I got the fault.
We always excuse people in these meetings when there's a commencement happening, so.
It's very important. It's kindergarten.
That's, well, listen, that's the commencement of everything really right there, so. Okay. So before I call for a motion to move to executive session, let me state that the members of the Board of Regents will move to executive session in accordance with 1-200 subsection 6E of the general statutes. To discuss personnel matters. No votes will be taken in executive session. The Board of Regents will reconvene today following executive session solely for the purpose of adjourning. In addition to the Board of Regents, the only individuals who will be in attendance in the executive session today are Interim Chancellor Natalie Braswell, as she has pertinent information or testimony related to the matters being discussed. Therefore, allow me to call for a motion to move to executive session for the purposes that I have described above. May I have that motion, please? A second? Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Can you Balducci me? There it is. Thank you. You need to exit. Sorry, for those of you online to join the session, you should have received that link. You need to exit this meeting completely and then join that. We will see you there. No, it's okay. It's been like 15, 20 years since I worked the help desk, so maybe I don't know what I'm doing, you know?
Okay.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman, would you like a motion to adjourn?
yes, please.
So moved.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned. Hold on, I gotta, well, in any case, yeah, this
2:04 PM.
concludes the meeting at 2:04 PM.